Hello, Gord Reineck here. I'm here to talk to everybody about a fantastic course we offer at the SAL here called Sports Medicine 10. It's a course that is been running at our school here for the last 8 years. And with the course, go to the next slide there, we can see different kinds of things that we're going to be doing in the course, from stuff in the Wellness Center, from testing to taping, to cardio, to weight training. There's a whole bunch of different things that are involved in the course. So sports medicine basically is going to teach a student about sports injuries, looking at the identification of the injury, how we can prevent the injury, and then how we can manage the injury. Okay? There's a focus on the athletic therapy techniques such as taping and strapping, weight training for rehabilitation and prevention. This class has three components. Basically, there's a hands-on learning of taping, strapping, and therapy techniques. There's an activity-based component where the student is learning proper weight training techniques, skills, and safety in our state-of-the-art wellness center. And then there's a theory component where students learn about anatomy, the mechanism of injury, and about the rehabilitation portion of the course. And what we do in a day, every day we do a little bit of each. Okay, so we'll have the theory component, and then we'll have a hands-on component where we work on taping and strapping and therapy techniques, and then we'll have an activity-based component, okay, where we're in the wellness center and doing some things in there. And the goal at the end of the course is to then have a project that we'll present that's going to involve a little bit of everything. So we'll have some stuff where we could show an injury, how we'd handle it with taping and strapping. We look at what we do in the wellness center to have an athlete rehabilitate the injury, and the students then highlight the theory that they've learned about all these things: anatomy, mechanism of injury, and the rehabilitative process. So that's kind of how the course goes. Glad to take some questions now, if anybody has any.
Yes, Mr. Reineck, I have a few questions for you, if that's okay.
Sure, Mr. Barry.
Where can Sports Medicine 10 take me as a student?
That's a great question. So what would happen if you take Sports Med 10? We learn the basics of the sports med, so everything's kind of at an introductory and intermediate level, and then most students who really enjoy the course will go on to Sports Med 20. Now in Sports Med 20, we offer a lot of credentials, a couple credentials that you can earn. So students, through their taping and strapping, they'll earn a Sports Medicine Council of Alberta taping and strapping certificate. The cool thing about this certificate, it's a 3-year certificate. So that's a great thing. Even if you don't go into the sports med field, you can have something that you can put on your resumes and those kinds of things. The second thing that students will earn in the Sports Med 20, based on the stuff from Sports Med 10, they'll earn an emergency first aid certificate with CPR and AED. This is a 3-year certificate again, so another fantastic thing that looks great on resumes. And together, the sports medicine taping and strapping certificate and the first aid certificate will allow a student to become a junior athletic trainer in the community. So we look at having students try to get with teams in the community, maybe a sibling or a neighbor's, younger kids, and working as an athletic trainer. And with the taping and strapping certificate and the first aid certificate, you're actually certified to be a junior athletic trainer in the community. So sports med is the springboard to lead us into that area. Also, people that want to go into things like careers with be an EMT, to be an athletic trainer, physiotherapist, athletic therapist, anything in the healthcare field. This kind of gives you a taste of kind of what it's like to be in that sector. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Reineck.
You're welcome.
Another question, if I may?
Sure, sounds good.
Does one have to be a strong academic student to take sports medicine?
Well, interesting, we are going to learn about things like human anatomy, mechanisms of how injuries occur, and all that. But there is no science prerequisite. The biggest thing that we're looking for is that you have an interest in learning about these areas. And if you have that interest, then we'll take care of the rest. And students by the end really have a strong grasp of all the different scenarios. We talk about anatomy, injury mechanisms, and all those things, even if they may not have a strong science background. So for sure, anyone can take this course. Interest is the biggest factor that's going to be important in the course.
Okay, and another question, if I may, Mr. Reineck?
Sure, fire away.
Does one have to be an athlete or involved in athletics to take sports medicine?
Well, interesting if you don't have to be an athlete. Quite often we do have athletes that take the course, but you don't have to be an athlete. The biggest thing you have to have is you have to be a person that's interested in helping other people. Okay, so in the course we're going to help other people that are going to be athletes and that type of thing with injuries and managing their injuries and helping them to get back into play. So being an actual athlete isn't important. However, I for sure had lots of students tell me experiences that after they've taken the course and they're at their game of volleyball or basketball or whatever, and someone sprains an ankle, that they are able to step up and tape that ankle, and they know whether they should tape it or not, if it's safe or not. So, I mean, if you're an athlete, this stuff comes in handy. If you're not an athlete, but you just have an interest in being involved in sports medicine, then this is the course for you.
And we have another question here, if that's all right, Mr. Reineck.
Yes, it is.
When SAL students get injured playing sports and whatnot, are they getting help from sports medicine students? Is there any kind of interaction there?
You know what? I mean, this is the direction that we definitely want to go with the course. And the idea of students taking Sports Med 20 is they would then be, legally allowed to help out in a junior athletic trainer capacity. So that would be the direction we want to go with this thing for sure. And that's why we have students that actually in the next level after Sports Med 10, they get that taping and strapping certificate, and they get the first aid credential. And those two things will allow them to legally be involved in that. And there could definitely be an opportunity for students to engage with athletes at our school. And we have, in fact, in the past, had some athletes that some students that have done that and got involved with various teams.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reineck.
You're welcome.
And one more question, if I may.
Yes, you may.
Other than the taping and other things that you learn in sports med, what other things will sports medicine teach me at the 10, 20, and 30 level?
Well, so for sports med, what we do is we offer it at the 10 and 20 level. The good news is about our sports med 20 class is that we do offer 3 30 level CTS credits. So that's a nice thing that someone could use as a 30 level requirement for their diploma and as a thing on the Rutherford scholarships and that. So interesting enough, we don't have the 30 level course, but we do offer students an opportunity to earn those 30 level credits. Now in the course itself, other things that we'll learn along the way, in terms of injuries, we look at the ankle, wrist, thumb, elbow for sprains, and we also look at the arch and Achilles tendon injuries. We do wraps for the shoulder, groin, and hip flexor. So these are all things that you're going to learn about in the course. And that's so there's a lot of different things with the rehabilitation side. We learn a little bit about field management. So what would I have to do if I was an actual athletic trainer? What would happen if I went on the field or the court and I had to actually help someone? So we'll go over scenarios and then follow through with them where they actually tape the athlete, check them to make sure they can go back in through sport-specific testing and those kinds of things. So we give students a real full experience in that. And the goal is to have students actually get involved in the community and even at our school. Okay, so those are definitely things that are in our thoughts and stuff when this course is developed and that.
And thank you, Mr. Reineck. And about how many students are in a sports medicine class?
Well, the students in class size can vary from 20 to 30 students, and that typically in the sports med 20, they're more like 20 to 25. So it's a really nice group that we have in there. So yeah, it's really good.
Thanks so much, Mr. Reineck. There are no more questions at this time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Reineck. Our next presentation is going to be beginning here at 6:45. If you have any questions on sport medicine, please contact Mr. Reineck here at this email if your question was not answered. And yes, like I said, our next presentation will be at 6:45 about our yoga program offered here at SAL. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Reineck, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Good, thank you very much. So there's a question here about where can sports medicine take a student?
Well, interesting question, because sports medicine 10 goes to sports medicine 20. So in sports medicine 10, we have the foundation, so kind of introductory and intermediate kinds of theory and skill practice that we do. And then when students go on to sports med 20, they'll actually earn a taping and strapping certificate from the Alberta Sports Medicine Council. That's a 3-year credential. Cool thing to put on a resume, even if you don't go into this field. For sure, great if you want to go into this kind of area and do some stuff. The second credential that we get that's an important one is called Emergency First Aid Certification with CPR and AED. Another great 3-year credential, which looks great on resumes and also allows you, in conjunction with the Sports Medicine Council of Alberta Taping and Strapping Certificate, to actually be a junior athletic trainer in the community. So what we hope is that students in class can get an opportunity to have a practical experience in the community. Maybe it'll be with a siblings team or some team in the community. We might even have opportunities for students to be involved with some of our athletic teams as a junior athletic trainer. And that. So that's kind of where Sports Med 10 can take you. Obviously, if you're going into a career and you're thinking of going to university, kinesiology, and those kind of areas, you want to be an EMT, firefighter, any of those kinds of things, awesome thing. If you want to work as a healthcare professional of any kind, you know, this is a good stepping stone because we have a nice anatomy component. We talk about movements and mechanisms of injury. So lots of great things that where this course could take you.
Well, thanks, Mr. Reineck. Another question, if I may.
Sure.
Does a student have to be a strong academic student to take Sports Medicine 10 and be successful?
You know, interesting that you should ask. I mean, for sure, in this course, we're going to talk about human anatomy. We're going to talk about, you know, some of the biomechanics and mechanisms of injuries and how they occur. We're going to talk about how we can rehabilitate an athlete that's been injured. But there is no science prerequisite. The biggest thing you have to have is an interest in learning about injuries and trying to help people. If you do that, then I'm going to help you along and make sure that you're going to get what you need to earn the taping and strapping certificate, to get that first aid and get involved in this kind of an area.
Well, thank you, Mr. Reineck. And is there a fee for sports medicine?
Yeah, so sports medicine has a $100 fee, and basically the $100 fee covers the cost of the tape. Okay, so we go through a ton of tape, and by the time you're done the course, you'll be able to tape someone's ankle and a variety of other parts that will become injured during sports. The cool thing is, you'll be 5 years down the road, someone will sprain their ankle, and you'll be able to tape their ankle because you'll know this so well. So it's yeah, the taping fee is the biggest fee that we have, and that's going to be it's a $100 fee.
Thank you. And do students ever take sports medicine along with personal fitness or cross sport?
Yes. So when you take sports medicine, then we recommend you taking one of the other two, because otherwise there's a little bit of overlap in the theory component and that type of thing. Plus, there's a lot of working out. So if you took 3 of them, that would be too much working out. So you're allowed to take 2 of the 3. So personal fitness, sports med, or cross sport, you could take 2 of the 3. Okay, and any combination of that works really good. If you want to have a little bit more activity, you could then add a phys ed course into the mix, and you can take that on top of it. There's no problem with those. It's just a little bit with the working out. We don't want to have people working out too much and that type of thing. And that way we can spread it out throughout the semesters or quarter system, depending on the way our system will go next year.
Well, thanks, Mr. Reineck. That's great. And about how many students are in a sports med class?
Typically for a sports med 10, it could be anywhere from 20 to 30, usually somewhere between 20 and 25. The odd class, if we have 3 or 4, then we might be one that has a little bit more in it and some that have a little bit less. But it's a nice number, and our taping lab and our wellness center is able to accommodate them comfortably in that. So it's a really nice number that we work with.
Great. And does a student have to be really strong athlete to succeed in this course, sports medicine?
Surprisingly not, okay? It doesn't mean if you're an athlete that you wouldn't be interested in the course, but anyone can take the course. It's having an interest in helping people and in the sports injury side. So we have some students that aren't involved in sports or maybe at a lower level, but they really enjoy the idea that they can help someone that's injured and help them to get back to playing and that type of thing. Interesting enough though, if we have athletes that are in the course, by the time they're done the course, they can be at a volleyball game or a basketball game, and they'll be able to tape someone's ankle, tape someone's thumb, and do a really good job and know why and if it's appropriate to do it. So if you're an athlete, this stuff comes in handy. And if you're not an athlete, we have lots of non-athletes or people that aren't high athletic people that excel in the course. So we take anyone, and like I said, the biggest thing is interest and wanting to be involved in a course where you're helping people.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Reinick. That was fantastic. There are no more questions at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. That was fantastic too. Excellent.
Perfect. Thank you very much for joining us this evening on our sports medicine presentation. If you have any further questions for Mr. Reinick, you can contact him on the email up on the screen.